What's up guys, welcome to my channel. So today we are going to be talking about another one of my favorite bands, Killswitch Engage. We're going to talk about one of the songs that I throw at my students when I am getting them to work on their legato, both their control, their stamina, and their speed. It's called Break the Silence. Let's get stuck into it. Okay guys, so the first thing is that my guitar today is in drop C tuning. So you need to have your guitar set up in drop C. So most of Killswitch's catalog is tuned to this tuning. So once you put your guitars down in this territory, you can pretty much play any and every Killswitch Engage song there is in existence. So my bottom string is basically tuned to a C. Then I have a G, another C, an F, an A, and then a D. And I get this wicked tuning. So we're going to talk about a couple of things and just break down this song riff by riff and explore the main things that are going to make you a better guitar player when you work on this song and study this piece. So the first riff is a tricky one. This song doesn't hold back at any point. So we end up with this. So this is a pretty crazy, quick little lick here that has a number of sort of legato and coordination elements going on between the hands. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do this pattern here between the 4th and the 5th string. So we start with a pull off on the 3rd fret of the 4th string down to the open string. And then we're going to use an upstroke to hit the 5th string, 5th fret. So you'll see when I do this, I've basically got a pattern on the right hand that's down, up, or inside picking where I'm staying between the 2 strings. This is the first thing you want to work on, is just getting your chops up with that. Then we're going to add some other notes from the scale and descend them with pull-offs. So we're going to run down the 4th string, 7, 5, 3 with pull-offs to the open string after each of those notes. So then we piece it together like this. I should add that we have an extra stroke along the 5th string just before our run down the 4th string with pull-offs. So see if you can spot it. Like that. Now the fingering is one of these things that there are multiple options. I like to just run up and down with either my 2nd or my 1st finger, but my left hand is good enough to do that. But you may need to sort of economize your left hand and use the pinky, the 2nd, and then the 1st finger along that 4th string if you're having trouble getting the speed. Like so. And that is probably technically the best way to play it, or the most kind of correct way if you're looking, but there are other ways to play that, and sometimes it's just going for what makes you most comfortable as a player. So now that we have that concept, we're then going to shift this up the scale. We're going to move this to the 5th fret on the 4th string and the 7th fret on the 5th string. Same pattern. And then we shift our scale run down up a degree. So we're going to go 8, 7, 5. Okay, so then we're going to move it up the scale again. We're going to go to the 7th fret on the 4th string and then the 8th fret on the 5th string. And our scale notes become 10, 8, 7 with pull-offs in between. So this is the guts of the riff, or the first half of it. We get this. And now we've got our legato kind of monster lick here. So what we have to do here is we have to hammer on the 5th string to the 8th fret with your 1st finger, and then the 12th fret with your pinky. Then we're going to pick the 8th fret on the 4th string, and then we're going to do a pull off along the 5th string, 12 to 8. So we get this. Then we have to add a slide along the bottom string, which is the 8th fret and the 10th fret. So And this is the next little part of the lick you want to practice that's going to make your left hand a bit of a beast. It really works on the legato with how fast this song is. and you want to just isolate that and work on your sets and reps with that little part of it. Then we're going to take that concept, we're then going to move it down to the 3rd fret and the 7th fret along the same strings, 5 and 4. And then we're going to slide 3 to 5 on the bottom string. So we get, for that second part. So when we put those two legato tails together, we get this. Like that. Now, let's put this riff together. Now, the second time round, it doesn't drop down to that 3rd position. It instead replaces it with these chords that we're going to see as a bit of a theme throughout this song. So you've got 8th fret on the 5th and, the 6th and the 5th string. Move that up to the 10th fret, just power chords there. Drop D power chords, or drop C power chords, I should say. And then we're going to play this bad boy. So 7 on the 6th string and 8 on the 5th string. And this gives us our first riff of the song. So pretty intense. What you want to do is make sure that you practice this riff nice and slow, work on your hand strength and just build it up slowly. This is the secret to getting good at guitar. And I have a video on this that you guys might like to go and check out on speed building and on my concepts around speed that will help you guys dramatically build up your speed and get results with speed in a very short period of time if you follow the system that I've built. Okay guys, so now let's talk the verse. So the verse we enter into a typical kind of metalcore percussive pattern. And I get this. So dun da dun da dun da 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 dun. So my right hand on this, I am palm muting and alternate picking. And I am going down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up on that. And I should end with an upstroke so that I'm ready to go for the next part of the riff. And that is, of course, on an open C power chord. So those two open bottom strings, the 6th and the 5th string. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to borrow those legato tails from the first riff and I'm going to put them on the end of this percussive pattern. So the first one actually starts at the low 3rd position, which we saw before. And then we're going to climb up some chords, 3, 5, 8. Power chords along the bottom 2 strings. So I get that. Then I'm going to go back to my percussive pattern. And you'll see I'm using the 2nd tail from the intro at the 8th position there, and then those chords that we saw at the end of that intro. So when we put this all together, last one, it chops off that legato tail and just plays our chords there. And this brings us into the second part of the verse, which has got a more kind of gallopy percussive pattern. So we end up with this, okay? So this one can get people, funnily enough. So palm muting, alternate picking again, we have a pattern da-dun, da-da-dun, 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 dun. All right, so it's like a short and a long note put in sequence, and then obviously repeated. Da-dun, da-da-dun, 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 da. And then we have a little fill here. A little fill, we're gonna do 2 palm muted open notes, alternate pick, down, up. Slide 2 to 3, I like to use my 2nd finger there on the bottom string. And then 2 alternate pick chugs on the bottom string again. And then I'm gonna hit a power chord on the 1st fret of the 5th string. So I get that. So when I put this together with the percussive part, I get that. Then I'm gonna go back to my sort of gallopy and then I have a different fill here. So my fill this time, I'm gonna start with that same concept of those 2 quick alternate pick notes. And then I'm gonna do a little bend on the 5th fret. I was being cheeky there and put a pinch harmonic in, but you don't have to do that. another 2 little alternate picks, and then a first fret power chord. So you get that. So when we put this together, and then at the end I have a different tail. So my tail at the end. So I'm going to play some power chords up the bottom string here for the end of this section. 0, 3, 5, 0, 10, slide down to 1. Those are just the drop power chords, so using the 2 bottom strings, the same frets together. Okay, and then we're into sort of like the second half of this verse where we just swap our sort of staggered gallopy type pattern to just straight 16ths. So same fills. But I'm going to borrow that chord transition to then transition into what I call the pre-chorus here, which is the riff that we did before. Now it cuts off there, and then we get into the chorus. And this is really where the magic is and the whole purpose of why I throw this song at my students and why I'm doing this video on this today. Because we have this monster legato lick. That goes for a very long time. And this is a great way to just build your hands up, really make them burn, and really build their stamina, their endurance, their strength, and then ultimately their speed longer term. So let's break down this riff. So this riff, what we're going to do is we're going to hammer on from the open 5th string, 8 and 12 again, just like the riff at the start. We're then going to come up to the 8th fret on the 4th string. And this is where it changes, because when we come back to the 5th string, we're going to pull off 12 down to 8, and then 10 we hammer on, and then pull off back to 8. So we get this for the first half of it. Like that. And we want to try and do that all as legato. Then we have the second part of it, which comes up on the 4th string and has a pattern. 12, pull off to 8, then hammer on 10, pull off to 8. Then we're going to do the exact same thing that we just did on the 4th string on the 5th string. 12, pull off to 8, hammer on 10, pull off to 8. That's the second half. Now when we put this together, we get that. Now this is usually pretty difficult for people for a number of reasons. Obviously the speed is pretty crazy, and then the stretch can be a little crazy, but then keeping it really clean is another problem that people have. So you got to make sure that your hands aren't flying around like wet fish and that you're slapping all parts of the board, right? We want to be really, really precise and really accurate with where our fingers are hitting and landing on the guitar, and making sure that our actual pull off and hammer on technique is really, really good. So this riff forms our chorus. And there's a harmony that's put on halfway through on this riff where it moves the pattern up to the 12th fret. And this time we're going to use the following frets 12, 13, 15, because those are the notes that are in the scale. But we're going to apply the same pattern that we had down here, up here. Like so. And then that forms our harmony. Now this gives you the guts of the song, guys. So there's heaps of awesome riffs to work on here that are going to build up your legato playing and your hand strength, particularly on the left hand, but your coordination and syncing up between the hands. The second half of this song, I'm not really going to cover today because it's a very kind of post-rock ambient style part where it's playing a lot of octave chords, and you guys can go and investigate that yourselves and put the rest of the song together. But I want you to work on these riffs. And then if you want to work on your speed with your legato, make sure you go and watch my video, which I'll pop up at the end of this video, which is on speed building and on my speed building systems. That will help you develop your left hand so that you can play this song at 100% speed. And if you enjoyed today's videos, make sure you comment below, make sure you like and subscribe. And then I have a free 7-day metal guitar boot camp that I'll post the link to in the comments that you can join if you want to upgrade your guitar playing and your skills. But here is the video I want you to go and watch next. I will see you in that video.